pudding, and the pudding in this case is a football. Boom! Eat my goal! The goalie has got football pie all over his shirt.
Welcome to this episode of the Down the Pool podcast. On this one, we get to review the first Wanderers game of the 2023 season. It's so nice to be able to say that. Actually having some action to review. How did your weekend go, Gar? Were you excited for the game? Where did you watch it?
I was very excited. Yeah, I couldn't wait for everything to get going again. I watched it in my living room on the sofa. So I think a lot of people did the same because, as far as I know, Fubo, obviously it's on Fubo, but I'm not sure that One Soccer's license on Fubo is for commercial use. So I'm not sure the bars have the games, even if they've got Fubo, but I might be wrong on that. That's like secondhand information. So I didn't want to chance going to Freehouse or somewhere only for them to be showing the Man City game rather than Halifax. So yeah, what about you? Where did you watch?
The same. My wife was at work, so I had to watch it from home on Fubo.
Were you babysitting at the same time?
Yeah, I was the kids were taking their nap, so I got to watch the first half uninterrupted, and then they woke up half time. So the second half was a little bit. Yeah.
Next time, just give them a little nip of whiskey. Off you go, lads.
That's how I got to watch the first half. So
you're like, I want the scotch for myself.
No, my wife came home, and so I was able to watch most of the second half, and it was a really good game. Like, you could tell, obviously that was the first game of the season, and it's kind of not cagey, but there was a couple of errors from both sides kind of in the first few minutes, and then I felt the Wanderers settled way quicker than what Ottawa did. I thought they were really on the front foot from the get-go. It was kind of exciting to see, to be honest with you. It was kind of like, here we go, this is what it's all about. How did you find the first half? I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit about the way that we were set up, and just your thoughts on how you think that the players performed to the system that was set up. Do they all do their bits properly?
Yeah, big time. And it's really nice having the first game at Ottawa, because they have that nice high camera angle there. So it's not like Pacific where you can't see anything on the other side of the pitch. Like with Ottawa and Forge, you can really see the whole pitch and you can really pick up on shapes and things like that. So straight away you look at us and talk about a contrast in styles. It's literally watching us against Ottawa is like watching 2012 football against 2023 football. Ottawa, big time 4-4-2 team, two big strikers, compact, no space between the lines, really kind of, it's Diego Simeone, isn't it? It's that sort of football. Whereas we're playing this kind of more fluid, rotational football, and which personally I find a lot easier on the eye. I'm not saying it's a better way of playing, so I don't think that exists, but to my personal taste, it's a lot nicer. So yeah, you look at our shape straight away, and we talked about this a while ago, this idea of 2 5s. You've got of the 10 outfield players, you've got 5 attacking players, 5 defensive players. So our 5 defensive players, Ferrazzo, Nimic, Omar, James, and Lorenzo as a midfielder, but just kind of sitting in. Ferrazzo from the right back position, dropping in and kind of screening all across the midfield to always be the free man. And then you've got our 5 attackers, Kosi back to goal, looking for wall passes, Rampy and Daniels as the 10s. Kind of interestingly, the 10s giving us a lot of our width. They would kind of switch out to be our wide players, and the wide players would switch in to be our central attackers as well. So that shape looked really nice, and you can just see straight away how well coached we've been over pre-season. The amount of do you kind of know what I mean? The difference between principles of play and pattern play. Because a principle of play would be when we lose the ball, we're compact. A pattern would be, okay, when the 6 has it, he plays it into the striker lays it off to the 8 plays it into the fullback, and all of that. And you can just see those patterns all over the pitch, the whole of that first half. It was yep, that's from the training ground. Yeah, that's from the training ground. Yeah, that's from the training ground. And it was really fun to watch. And and you're right, like it wasn't perfect because it is the first game of the season, and a couple of times the touches weren't quite there. But overall, I thought we looked really good, and just so different, and so fresh. And this is only the start, so I can't wait to see what it evolves into over the next 6 months as well.
Yeah, I had a few people like I was talking to there, and like they actually, without me prompting them, had said that Halifax looked really good. And I think it probably took a lot of people by surprise, considering the way our season ended last year and the way we were playing, to see like it almost do like a 180 where, we're not willing to just sit back and soak up pressure and hope to hit people on the counter. We're actually able to, we have the players who are actually able to bring the ball forward and actually like make passes like that. Like even like within the first 5-6 minutes was like a Farron that had that chance from the edge of the box where he just sprung up like even little things like that. I thought like was so much better than what we put up at last year, and I actually didn't notice the time tick. I felt like last year I was like almost clock watching. Like it was like, when's this fucking thing over? And this
time
it
was fucking dull sometimes, wasn't it?
Yeah, and like now it's like the half went super quick because it was like, and I think that I don't think Atletico were ready for the way that we were going to play. It just felt like that they weren't. I don't think they believed that we would actually play that way. So
sorry, just a few thoughts on that. Like on Ottawa not being prepared. Like, so number one, I think. So they looked like they were just pumping balls behind our left back for the first half. And I think what they've done is to scout how we're going to play. They've watched the Vaughan matches that they could get their hands on. And obviously when you watch Vaughan play, Ferrazzo was playing as a left back and tucking in. So they've assumed we're going to play like that and just pump balls into the left channel. And they kind of adapted second half when they realised, oh shit, no, he's playing right back and the right back's tucking in. And another thing on that, like I was chatting to my mate Shep earlier about the game because he was rewatching at the same time as me, and what he said is true. Was like, how have Ottawa, like we have just played 3 preseason friendlies against 3 Ottawa teams. Like, how the fuck have their like video analysts not had the due diligence to reach out to those clubs to find out how we played and like find out that our right back was inverting? Like that is a massive, like, I don't know, if you're in that role, it's dark arts and it's shitty, but it's not exactly Bielsa in the bushes, is it? Like, you can still just reach out to your contacts at them clubs and go, oh, how did they set up against you? But they clearly didn't, because they had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it was advertised, all these games. They could have just jumped on the plane and come to Halifax and just watched the game themselves and worked it out. You know what I mean? But
no, and like stick some round glasses and a little flat cap on their coach Gonzalez, and he looks like he lives on Gottingen Street or Agricola, doesn't he? So get away with that, no problem.
But we can't talk about that first half. Obviously, we're going to talk about the goal in a second, but just the performance of Lorenzo. I thought that everybody's been kind of raging about him, like about how well he played. I think in your blog that you put that like he had 113 passes or something during the game, which is phenomenal. Like when you think about it, like that's like it's almost a fifth of our total passes. Like, so what did you make of his position? Where was he? I know you kind of said that he was kind of sitting deep, but like was he like pressed right against our like defenders, or was he like a little bit more advanced? Like how did he fit into the system?
Yeah, he was just in front of, well, not really just in front of the defense because he stepped up quite a lot, but he was definitely deeper than the 5 attacking players, and he was just everything to us. He was our technical reference point. The 113 passes thing, like it was mentioned in Benedict Rhodes did a really good article after the game, just kind of looking at important things that happened, and he mentioned it in there, and I looked at that and I thought, that ain't right, is it? Because like your top midfielders average about 70 to 80 passes a game. Busquets, Rodri's closest to 90, but not many players ever get to 100 passes in a game. Like 99 completed passes is absurd. So I don't know if that was like a typo or like if he did get to that number, then that's astonishing. Like to a fault almost, actually, because it means like like the players on a team tell you who they think the best player on their team is. So if all of our players are constantly looking up and going, "Where's Lorenzo?" that tells me that they think he's the best player, and that's who they should trust with the ball. And he may well have had that many passes, sorry, which is astonishing. But he was brilliant. He's every bit as good as I was hoping he was going to be, and if he keeps his level, if he keeps his focus, he's going to absolutely dominate this league. He basically on his own made us control them. Well, not really on his own, because him and Ferrazzo were kind of in tandem, but they helped us control the midfield. And I'm going to be interested to see what Ottawa would do against us on Wednesday, because there's no way their video guys haven't looked at that and gone, everything went through him. So I imagine they'll sit one of their strikers on him and just block off the angles, sit on him tight, and don't let him control things. So it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with that, because right now we know he can play when he's got no pressure on him, but can he play when he's got someone like up his ass for 90 minutes? So we'll find out on Wednesday, probably.
Yeah, there was a couple of moments like when he was being closed down and he seemed to kind of have the technical nous to kind of get himself out of sticky situations. But yeah, it's I find with the league, like would it be like this is the 5th season, whatever, that a lot of players that come with the kind of hype like that, where like the PSG is on his like CV and all that kind of stuff, they very rarely ever live up to the hype. And I know it's just his first game. I'm not trying to get like, I am kind of getting ahead of myself, but still, it was actually nice to see somebody that actually live up a little bit to the potential that like everybody had been talking about. And I just love watching him. It was just so nice, and it's just it's one of those players that it's just effortless, it's just nonchalantly like just spraying the ball around, you know what I mean? I was really impressed with him, and I just wonder how we're going to, because obviously it's a packed week. We've got like 3 games in the space of a week, so I wonder if we might see him maybe sit out on Wednesday, and because we've got the Forge game.
What would you do? Would you like play not a second string, but would you heavily rotate for Wednesday?
Yeah, I think he already did for this game, oddly enough, because like I think everybody expected like Wesley Timoteo to start, and he didn't come on until the second half. So I think there was a couple of players that we all expected to be in the starting lineup that didn't, which was kind of nice. It was actually kind of nice that we have the quality to have those players on the bench. But I definitely think we'll see some of the people who were on the bench start the game, and I could see Lorenzo maybe sitting out. Like I would, like Callum Watson came in, and obviously like his first professional game, like, and he got like he was like my spirit animal. He got like a booking within like 2 minutes of to the pitch, which I loved every minute of. But you have people that can kind of switch in. Rampy can play there too, or wherever. So I don't know. I think it might be a good idea to rest him for that game and bring him in for Forge, because Forge is going to be another tough game like next Saturday. Like, and I think
it's going to be a ding dong. That is,
yeah. Like as much as the Canadian Championship has like provided some of the best Wanderers moments in terms of like the games against Toronto and Montreal and stuff like that. For me, like I want us not to finish last in the league or second last in the league. Like I want us to actually be going for, and I think that we need to prioritize the league. That's just my thoughts. But what did you?
I'm same as you, mate. 100% same as you. Yeah, and this isn't like only a Wanderers thing. Like with Arsenal as well, I never really asked about the cups. Like it's all about the league for me. And I like the Canadian Championship. It can give you like these really good nights every season, 1 or 2 really good nights, but it's not the bread and butter. Like if you get to the end of the season, you're going to judge it on where we finish in the league, not if we sold out the grounds versus Toronto on a Wednesday night. Like that stuff matters obviously for optics and just having those big nights for the city, but like from a football perspective, I would much rather us like lose on Wednesday and beat Forge if you gave me that option.
Yeah, me too. Like I just want us to do well and like not like just put in a good performance against Forge. I think it's important for the team to be like, it's going to look like that next step again, because like we played the regular season champions at their place, put in a really good performance, and then going to the champions like in the same week. I think it would just look better for us if we got something out of that game. So I know you kind of touched on Ferrazzo there. I kind of wanted to get a little bit of like a little bit of his positional play, and I also kind of wanted to just get your thoughts on young Nimic at the back there. I thought he was like Lorenzo and Aiden Daniels will probably get like some plaudits for the goal, but I thought Nimic was a rock back there. Like just there was quite a few times when he like just wasn't panicking and was just shepherding the ball out or just push like just moving players the right way, and so he's a very smart footballer. So I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on those two.
Yeah, and I think it's good that you mentioned them in the same question, really, because Riley Ferrazzo can't do what he wants to do unless Daniel Nimic is super switched on and is able to sniff out like, okay, that space has been vacated in the right back position, so I've got to move over. I've got to make sure Omar comes with me. He's got to make sure James comes with him. So you've got kind of that back three who are quite compact, while Riley Ferrazzo mate, just watch him. Just watch him for 10 minutes. Don't watch anyone else. Just watch him. It's so interesting what he does. I put this in the blog, but I think he's basically been told you always have to be our spare man. So wherever the ball is, you just kind of like gently shuffle over there and make sure you're always at the tip of the triangle. You're always an out ball. You're always a release valve. And he's so good at it. Like, he's such a smart player. I can't believe he hasn't been snapped up, actually, because I've no idea what he looks like as like a more traditional out and out left back, which is what I think he was advertised as. But as an inverted fullback, he is so smart and very two-footed, always like the out ball, lovely passer. And he had two partnerships. He had a partnership off the ball with Nimic, which I just mentioned, and had a really, really good partnership on the ball with Lorenzo as well. And they were just like, I think a skill a footballer should have is knowing when to rest in-game rest, and them two are really good at recognizing when like the energy levels would just hit like a bit of a peak, so we need to rest. So what they'd do is just do that kind of like little pass to one, little pass back, little pass to one, little pass back, and it doesn't achieve anything in terms of being proactively attacking, but it just settles you and says, okay, we're having a bit of a rest here. And yeah, lovely player. Nimic too, really, what a defense, like so athletic, so fast, so strong. I had a guy message me about him because he'd read the blog that I did previewing the players, and he said like, he was like, oh yeah, like Nimic looks amazing, doesn't he? And he was like, he looks like Captain America. I was like, that's spot on. That's exactly what you feel like. Give him a cape, give him a mask, because he's just an Adonis, isn't he? Just charging about like, oh yeah, brilliant defender. And I think like the balance between him and Omar is really good, because Omar is a bit more chilled out, a bit more relaxed. Like he'll kind of drop back and sweep, pass out, whereas Nimic is the one that engages and like kind of like steps into the duel, steps into the challenges, and is very aggressive. So yeah, both of them brilliant in completely different ways.
Yeah, I just love watching defenders like that. Just watching how their ability to read the game. As you said, it's not even like the tackles or whatever. It's like just knowing how to cover the space, and just being able to block stuff off. It's a great. It almost feels like it's part of the game that's kind of dying off a little bit. Like it's like that kind of part of the game. But yeah, he's fantastic, and there was a lot of buzz around him again during preseason, and it's another one of those things that you just, will the hype be there? Like, is it just like, some people just look good in training and then come match day they're terrible, and he lived up to it. So I was really impressed, and I think credit has to go to the scouting team, because we didn't have like any player that you go like they don't look like they belong out there. You know what I mean? Like I think that they all everybody like, and I think that comes down to being well coached too, is that everybody knew the role, but like nobody was like, we've seen it a lot with the Wanderers, because we have to kind of pick a lot of players up and hope for the best of them, and that they just look like they just don't belong. And I think everybody that was there on the pitch and who came on just look the part like proper professionals.
You say about the scouting element of that, and I think that's definitely like I've wrote a tweet about this, and it's kind of done my head in a little bit that all of the focus in the media has been like Wanderers and like, oh, they've just signed a load of League One Ontario players. Like, no, they haven't. They've signed 3 League One Ontario players. They've signed more NCAA players.
Yeah.
That has been the recruitment strategy, not League One Ontario. That's just Patrice going, oh, I work with these guys, they're really good. That's not a strategy. The strategy has been going, what did Forge do in the first season? They discovered a load of really good NCAA players, brought them on board, and they flew. And that's what we've gone and done. Patrice knows NCAA. He's got a lot of contacts there, and they've identified the best NCAA players and brought them in. Nimick being a prime example of that. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of people missed what the actual strategy was, and yeah, fair play to the scouting department for that.
So just switching to the goal itself. This is the thing that I think people find frustrating sometimes with Aiden Daniels, is that he's capable of those sort of runs, but it almost feels like sometimes like he's so hit and miss. You know what I mean? Like, it's like he'll do something like that, and then the next play he'll do something, like he'll try something. Like, I'm all for players like trying the extraordinary, because that's kind of what you want, but you also have to be like a bit of a realist too. And if you're like trying to take a shot from or trying to sweep a ball like 40 yards across the pitch, like it's not, like it's very rare it's gonna make there, like, you know what I mean? But that run was just exactly why we signed him. Like, there's nobody else in the team, I think, that could have made that run, and the layoff was just asking to be hit. Like somebody had said on the commentary, that it was just asking to be hit first time. It was just, there's no way you needed to take a touch of that. It was just perfectly weighted, and Zach just nailed it. So what did you think of the goal? And like, how do you think that was it Lorenzo who broke up the play and laid it off? I'm not too sure who it was. Like, it was just such a great goal.
Yeah, he picked Sammy Salter's pocket.
Nice.
Sammy fucking Salter. How about your knob? Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Like what you said, like it's exactly what you want Aiden Daniels doing. And I'm just looking at him now and going, right, complete clean slate. Like last season, like it didn't happen. Just, this is a new season, new setup, new role. And he looked like, first half especially, he looked like he was having fun. He looked really switched on. And like you said, I remember when we signed him, watching all the matches of his on USL, and that's exactly what he was doing in the USL. That's why I was so excited about him. Like he drives. Like, we've got a team of, like, let's say 10 outfield players, 8 of which are passers. And we've got 2 dribblers, and that would be Aiden Daniels and Zach Fernandez. They're like the ones who you want like space in front of them to drive into, because that gives you balance, doesn't it? You're not just trying to play, you're not trying to pass through the lines all the time. You've got someone who can, like, when you do what he does then and beat 2 players, that completely disrupts the opposition shape. So they're like all about like, fucking hell, our structure, our 2 lines of 4 and all of that. If you just have someone that takes 2 players out of the game by doing that, then space opens up, then the left back shits himself, tucks in a bit too far, and then you've got Zach Fernandez in all the space in the world. So you need your Aiden Daniels to do that. And yeah, I thought he was really bright first half. Looked a bit tired second half, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this season.
Yeah, the goal just from beginning to end was just beautiful, and I think I scared the shit out of our cat when I like screamed when he scored. So it was definitely worth it. but then like we were kind of chatting during the game about the goal that Atletico scored, and you made a really good point that like we just seemed to like switch off, because it was like, you know, just be 1 minute of at a time. Like Jan had just like cleared the ball, cleared the lines. And it was like everybody was just expecting it to be blown up, and nobody played to the whistle. And then that diagonal pass you were talking about for the whole game, that was the one that nailed us into the corner. So I was kind of disappointed. I took a couple of screenshots, like, because I was just like, how have we allowed Ollie Bassett that much space? Because he had time for a touch and the place the ball where he wanted to, and it was just so odd. But I did have a question, because like I know you're a formation guy, but like we had pushed, like, so Ryan James was like, obviously, like, our left back, like, had pushed right across. So we had like three defenders like pushed right over into the middle of the pitch. That just left all that space there, and I was just asking to be kicked in. Like, so is that part of the fact when we have players attacking that we're kind of leaving ourselves a little bit exposed on the left flank like that?
Yeah. I mean, one of the fundamentals is when you're defending, you want to be compact. Like it's almost okay to cede the wide areas because you're less likely to get hurt down the wings than you are in the center of the pitch, which is, like, obviously you still can get hurt there, but I think teams tend to like kind of squeeze in those phases, so the center of the pitch is protected. With the goal, it's actually like it's one of those that's fairly easy to figure out what happened. Like you see Jan's got the ball in his hands, and you actually see him shout at the ref and ask how long left. And I think the ref must say 20 seconds or something, because that's pretty much how long was left. So in that moment, he seems to like one of our principles of play seems to be, more often than not, we'll build from the back. Like the two centre backs will drop into the box and we'll build from there. But I think because Jan thought, right, there's 20 seconds left, nothing stupid, let's just like see out the last bit of the game. And he just boots it as far down there, as far into their half as he can, thinking, okay, they won't have time to build, the ref's going to blow the whistle. Him doing this, I think, is a sign to the rest of the players who think, oh shit, okay, it's nearly half time. And just that like half a second to lose your focus a little bit. By the time Ottawa have hoofed the ball back down the pitch, our distances are off. Like we're all half, our distances have been brilliant between like the four midfielders, the four defenders, like really small spaces there. And just in that moment, because they think the whistle's about to go, the distance is about 5 yards wider than it has been before. And Ollie Bassett just drifts into that space and scores. So it's like a learning moment. I don't think it's Jan's fault, because I think he was just using his experience and going, okay, we need to just get this ball far away because the whistle's about to go. And like, you can't legislate for an absolutely unreal pass from Luke Singh.
It really was, to be honest.
And
so
that, it is what it is. Yeah.
Like I didn't mean to take away from the pass from Luke Singh. That was phenomenal, to be perfectly honest. And it was a Asi or whatever. I'm not too sure, but the guy who laid
young
off,
lad,
like he took it really well, and like he played a nice little ball into Ollie Bassett. But yeah, we did kind of get hot cold on that one, but I thought that we came out the second half quite bright. Like we had a couple of corners. Mo Omar was mixing it in there, like trying to get headers and all that kind of stuff. So I was pretty happy with the response. Like we weren't dejected, because there's something worse than traipsing into halftime having conceded a goal like that. But I thought that I thought that we came out on the front foot and kind of made sure that we weren't like our heads were down. But then there was a time towards the end of the game, it was like a 10-minute phase maybe, where we were under the cosh quite a bit. How did you think that we cope with that? And do you think that we made the right substitutions at the right time?
I think we did. Yeah, I think we were kind of losing a little bit of control. So bringing Wesley Timoteo on, who's a very like neat player, nice passer, he brings a bit of control. Bring Callum Watson on, who is a very pressy sort of 10 who can stop Ottawa building from defensive positions, was a good move. So yeah, I like it. They did have a bit of pressure, but I don't remember ever feeling too scared. It didn't feel that last ditch, to be honest. I mean, there was obviously the penalty incident, which I think it probably should have been a penalty, the handball, although there is that guy on Twitter, I think he's Victorian Gooner or something, who is he's a referee, and he always does analysis of decisions like that. And his analysis was that it wasn't a penalty, because he said Ryan James's arm, the angle of the camera made it look worse than it was, because his arm was actually behind his back. but the camera
Okay.
angle kind of made it look differently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it looked like a penalty to me though, but I trust his analysis more than mine. So yeah, I thought we saw the game up pretty well, and I think both teams at one point were just like, yeah, I'll take a draw. You just don't want to lose on the first day of the season, do you?
No, definitely not. And I think that was um there was some nervy moments there, like when Ali Bassett went through. I thought Jan came off his line really well and blocked the angles that they kind of put him off. And they did have a couple of like little goal mouthy scramble things, but I thought we looked a lot more solid than what we have done. And I think I don't mean to keep harping on it like last year, but I think last year we would have lost that game. So I was pretty
Yeah.
happy, and I think, as you said, like being able to bring on a couple of players who would just kind of get in there and mix things up a little bit definitely helped us, and we then were kind of able to start playing our game again a little bit. And yeah, I must say I really enjoyed it for the first game. So I guess who was your man of the match?
It's Lorenzo, isn't it? It's all day long Lorenzo with an honourable mention to Ferrazzo and Nimic. But yeah, Lorenzo, I'm besotted, quite frankly.
I love it.
And it's great, mate, because I don't think his English is too good, so he's never going to listen to this. So I can be weird and creepy and say how much I love him because he's never going to find out. So yeah.
So if there's anybody who can translate this and send it to Lorenzo, we'd really yeah, it's kind of hard to look past him, really, isn't it? Like I kind of wanted to try and give it to somebody else, but no, man, he was like he just looked the part, and I really hope that it wasn't just a one-off and this is
Nah.
him for the season. So I'm pretty excited about that. And then just to finish off, there was obviously apparently some other games in the CPL apart from our own. I'm not too sure if you were aware of that. Did you get to see any of those games?
I watched all of Pacific Vancouver, 80% of Cavalry Forge, and all of York Valor.
Nice.
It was a nice weekend of CPL action. Mate, it was so nice seeing all the full looking stadiums.
Oh yeah,
that was the nicest thing for me. Just like, it felt legit. And
the CPL sent out something today saying it was like a 67% increase over last year, and I actually think that I was kind of chatting to a couple of people today, and like the Atletico thing. I think when they did that last year, they had like 15,000, and this time they had like 7, or like kind of pay what you want to. But I think though that 7,000 will probably be the ones that are going to go, and I think having 7,000 every week at your games is where you should be. So yeah, I was really happy. Like it looked like a decent crowd at the Forge game. The Pacific game was sold out, which was amazing. And then York being York, it's 1,600 people. Yeah, it just seems like it's always going to be an uphill battle for those guys. But yeah, I did get a chance to watch all the Pacific game. I thought Vancouver were really good, actually. They're like they've got some decent players, and they did give Pacific a good run of it. That Pacific towards the end of the game when they scored the goal and stuff like that did seem like they're turning the screw a little bit, but I definitely think Vancouver, they're not going to be the way that Ottawa were in their first year. I think they're going to surprise a few people, and I'm already regretting my choices for
Me
season.
too, mate. I put York finishing second. Not a chance.
Well, yeah, Manny Aparicio's goal was fantastic.
He's a great player. He would be brilliant for us. Manny Aparicio would be. I don't think we can afford him.
Definitely not. But I think that he just the finish was just phenomenal, and it's kind of one of those things that like it looks easy, if you know what I mean, but that takes a lot of skill to be able to hit a ball like that when it's kind of rushing at you. So yeah.
How did you think they looked with Ongaro rather than Bustos?
Oh my God, they're still finding their feet a little bit. I guess everybody expected them to be just like hoofing long balls up there, but they didn't. They were still kind of playing their game, and I think Ongaro kind of at times looked a little bit lost as to what he was actually supposed to be doing. And he also missed an absolute sitter of a chance in the first half. But yeah, I thought that Vancouver marshaled them well. He didn't really get I don't think he did anything too spectacular. But I think it's one of those things that he's just gonna have to like develop into their style of play and just get used to it because it's probably different than what he's been used to before. So, but yeah,
Mm.
like I don't know, he'll score goals. I think like he is a really good player, but I just think that yeah, he just kind of looked a little bit lost. How about you?
Oh, yeah, he's fine. He's a bit of an upmarket Sammy Salter, isn't he? Like he's that sort of player. And Pacific, I was thinking about this weekend. Like I don't know why I was comparing in my head like Forge and Pacific. I think I was thinking about who had sold a lot of players, and I felt like maybe I'm wrong here, but it feels like Pacific have sold quite a lot of players, whereas Forge haven't really yet. Forge have been the best team in the league since 2019, and I think it's because Forge are good because they're a systems team and they've not really got anyone that stands out. Like Becker stands out a little bit, but more because of kind of the way he carries himself rather than what he does. So you just kind of you don't pick out individuals on Forge because they're all just working in this system, this well-oiled system, which I think is what we're going to end up being. Whereas Pacific are like they don't like no kind of system jumps out at me. It's all just individuals who are quite good. Like Bustos was quite good. Diaz was very good. And I kind of when I was watching them, it felt a bit like that again against Vancouver. Like players jump out at you like Aparicio and Ongaro rather than structure. And yeah, I think they'll be that sort of team, which means they'll be quite inconsistent, I imagine. But yeah, I don't see anything. I don't see. I looked around all them games, and I just don't see. There's nothing there that I'm too scared of, to be honest. Like I really believe in where this is going with us, and I'm sure I'm going to end up looking like a twat. And I know at the start of every season, I come into things with all this misplaced hope and stuff. But yeah, I didn't see anything that worried me too much. Oh,
Yeah.
can we just talk about the cavalry second goal, by the way?
Oh my God. Oof.
What a finish. Like every time you like look at a goal of the season competition, there's two types of goals you see. There's like the tiki taka team goal, and
Yeah.
then there's like the thunder bastard where someone just twats it top corner. That goal was both of those things in one. Like they had the tiki taka shit in the midfield area, and then the guy just launched it. Oh, what I love that goal.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was phenomenal. Like yeah, you usually always have the Thunder Bastard, the Tiki Taki one, and then somebody will do like an overhead kick or like an
Yeah,
acrobatic
that's
goal
true.
too. Like
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of nice that to have like a goal like that in the first weekend too. Like it was that game. I watched the highlights of the Forge Calgary game, and it looked a really entertaining game, and two teams that were really going for it and looked decent too. So.
Yeah,
I,
really
I
good
did.
because I didn't think Cavalry would be very good this season, so I was quite surprised by how good they looked. Although stylistically, I do think they're the team that can give Forge the most trouble because they're very direct and Forge like the game to happen on the ground, and I think Cavalry are quite comfortable with the game happening in the air, so they're always going to give them a bit of trouble.
I did want to get your thoughts on York. I didn't get to see the game. I just saw the highlights. So I guess I kind of want like what went wrong for them. It just like
They 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 just look
it,
really clunky, really like agricultural and funk. Like I had them down a second in my predictions because on paper I thought they look really good spine. Added Jeremy, brilliant. Babuli, I think, is the best player in the league on his day. The other big striker from Ottawa. So I just thought like they look really strong and physical. But then they just look so slow and so clunky, and it takes them about fucking 15 years to play it through the lines. Like moving through the thirds is like watching a turtle in a race, like it's that sort of speed. And sorry, I know your mate Angus listens to this, so sorry, Angus, but yeah, I don't know. I just they'll probably come good because of everything I've heard says Martin Nash is a really good manager and like tactically proper switched on, but they needed a bit more pace somewhere in that team, a bit more urgency.
yeah,
And
it's
Valor
kind of
look quality, mate.
yeah, Valor were a bit like that like last year where they kind of had a couple of games when they looked really good, and then they had a couple of games where they looked absolutely dreadful. So you kind of wonder if that's going to be the same pattern for them this year. Like you're on the same team with York. They just on paper they look fantastic. Like Angus made some really good signings. Their midfield like looks to be one of the best in the league, and they just didn't show up. Like when I was watching the highlights, the amount of chances that Valor had, like Nico Giansopoulos, like made probably 4 or 5 like top drawer saves. So it could have been way worse than what it was. And they as you're right, they just looked like they were switched off. They were second to everything. It just, I don't know. They just didn't look like a team. Yeah, like it
No,
just it's funny. Like I and it must be just like annoying for them having built up so much hope in the off season with the squad they put together. And you're right, like they'll probably come good, and it's just starting off the season. But you'd expect them to be beating Valor at home, to be perfectly honest. So yeah,
how,
it's
how much of it do you think is that they, and this is not shitting on their supporters at all, because like no, but no joke, I genuinely think their supporters are the best in the league, because it's very easy to turn up every week when you're part of 6,500 fans like we are, and you know there's energy there. It's not easy to turn up every week when you know you're one of 700 and you've still got to bring energy. So like massive respect for their supporters. I think genuinely they're the best in the league for that reason. However, overall, York are the one club in the league, along with probably Valor, who don't have home advantage, because like you lose all of the home advantage that comes with having big support, people behind you cheering for 90 minutes. And I do think they suffer from that, because every other team in the league really leans into that and uses it, but York don't really have it. So yeah, just that's kind of, maybe I'm winding them up. That's the way I see it with them.
yeah, I can totally understand that. Like, and it's just kind of funny the way that like it's kind of laid out a little bit. Like there looks like an awful lot of empty space too, like behind the goal over this side of the stadium, and like you've just got the one stand, and then they built that we like temporary one at the back there. So it's kind of, it's not ideal, I think, for football, to be honest, because you kind of
No.
want that, like, and I think that's where some of the other teams suffer too, where like you only have support on one side of your stadium because they're so big. And I think that's where we're lucky, and Pacific are really lucky that they have that kind of box of sound kind of thing. I've talked to Angus a few times, and I'm sure like he's sick of like talking about the same thing over and over again. But it's just such a horrible market to try and um to tap into when you've got like up the road you've got the Jays and you've got Bernadeschi and Insigne, like you know what I mean. It's, and that's no disrespect to the players at York, because they, as you said, we've got some fantastic footballers. It's just trying to, and there's nothing as well around that stadium. Like I've talked to, because we were supposed to be going on the party plane, fuck you Porter, and like the guy from Dublin that I know up there, like he was like there's nowhere to go, like there's no pubs, or you know what I mean. Whereas like Air Stadium is like right downtown, so like if you can kind of make a day of it, right? Whereas like here, it just seems like you go and then you go, like you go to the game and then you just fuck off back somewhere else. So it's the little bits of it all just seem not really put together properly, I guess, would be my way of saying it. But uh, Angus is smart, and I'm sure he'll figure it out eventually.
And
And
that's not, it's not on him either. Like I've listened to his interviews with you, and they're all really good, and
yeah,
he's well aware, isn't he? And always
yeah,
says that. Like he knows. It's just hopefully they can get it done sooner rather than later.
yeah. Because like I think like I was really impressed at like the amount of fans that Vancouver brought to the Pacific game. Like for
Yeah.
a brand new team, it was kind of awesome. And a big shout out to all the Wanderers fans that made it to TD Place. They definitely brought a good buzz of energy. It looked like there was like 200, 300 people there, maybe. I'm like
Yeah. I know.
overestimating that. But
I don't know,
yeah,
mate. They seem to fill that section pretty well.
yeah.
So
And yeah,
yeah.
I thought that it's nice that we're able to start like seeing away fans in stadiums. Like I think whenever we have away fans, it's usually like five at our stadium. But it was kind of nice to see a good traveling. And I think for the game tomorrow we might see sorry, the game on Wednesday we might see some more Wanderers fans in attendance, because I'm sure people probably just like hung around to go to the other game. So So yeah,
I think I read just before coming on. I think I read on Twitter a couple of Forge fans, like friend of the pod Kev, talking about. I think a few of them are going, aren't they? Like Forge are going to represent for Wanderers. A few Forge fans.
Weird,
which is nice.
Yeah,
everyone's second favorite team.
Yeah, there we go. I love that. we're the Newcastle of the CPL.
You wait till we're decent though. They'll fucking hate us. I can't wait for that.
I would rather be hated for that than to be liked as a second team, because we're like we get some people at our stadium. But yeah, I just before we go, I've been quite impressed by the amount of new podcasts and blogs and stuff that have been springing up around the team. It's so nice and refreshing that people are starting to take notice and trying to put some stuff to the pen and to microphone to get into it. So there's so many like little, and I think this is what's going to help the league grow a lot quicker, is that when you get fans involved. Like I was talking to my buddy who's a York fan. Apparently they're going to be starting a new podcast about York, and there's Kev has one, I think, as you said. There's another. I think there's another one out there in Forge too. We've got quite a few now. We've got Simon Springer's one, the up to north, yeah. Then you've got this one that Martin Bowman from the coast is doing. What was it?
Wanderers Grounds. Wonder. Yeah, something like that. I had a listen though. It was really good.
It was actually quite fun. I think it's him and the political editor or something, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. The new blog as well. A lad Wanderer's Notebook or something it's called, which was good. So hopefully everyone listens to those podcasts and reads those blogs as well. Because
and then we've got obviously like Denton will be, I'm sure, working furiously away at the new cookbook for the new season. So yeah, it's those little things that and then Mayflower Sports, where they do stuff too. So it's just nice that we have
Merchant Sailor.
Yes, we've got False Nine sometimes do, like they have a section on their show dedicated to the Wanderers. So yeah, it's kind of nice and this is how we get the word out there, and we get people showing up, we get people interested in supporting having the stadium built and all that kind of stuff. So well done to everybody. If you ever need a hand with anything, don't forget to reach out to Gary. He's at From Aways on Twitter and on Instagram. Gary, football's back. Football's back in Canada.
Mate, I love it. I love it.
It's so nice. So next week we'll get to have a double episode, I guess, because we'll have the Canadian Championship game and we'll have Forge. So if anybody has any feedback from the show or wants to drop in any questions for me and Gary for the next episode, please do at Down the Pub Pod, and Gary's From Aways, as I said, on Twitter and Instagram. So until next week, take care.
Folks, please. Right foot, please. Time to drink up, folks. Get out. Out to foot.